Okay, welcome to part 3 of my walk around. We're going to go ahead and discuss machine, rinses, and safety. Exactly how I laid the truck out. Now, we'll get started with the machine. First of all, this is a PTO. What is a PTO? That's a power takeoff. So it actually runs off the engine. While the engine is running, that runs this system here. It doesn't have to have its own separate engine. And I like that a lot because I don't have to worry about one engine and maintaining one engine for oil and things like that. So to me, I like a power takeoff, or some guys call a system of direct drive, and that usually runs off another component on the engine rather than having its own separate power takeoff. All right, now here you have the machine. You can see how it's laid out. It's basically got 2 different speeds on it, a high and a low. You're basically using your low speed when you're cleaning because it's going to give you 250 degrees at the wand. Ask me how I know. It also is going to give you plenty of vacuum, and it's going to go ahead and do a great job just at speed 1. Now, if you got a long run and you're going to be running 400 feet of hose or something like that, well, by all means, go ahead and run it on the second speed, but it's not necessary. Another time you'll be using it with the second speed is when you'll be dual wanding. So there is dual ports here, but I just run a single port in here, but I can hook it up at any time with the adapter there and run 2 wands. And let me tell you what, this is the absolute true dual wand system. I've never ever had a machine that dual wand like this machine does right here. So keep that in mind. Now as you go through the machine here, it just basically gives you the PTO start, your water pump, your gauges, your water temperature. It's just a nice clean laid out system. And then behind here you can see a fresh water tank. It's almost 200 gallons of fresh water, and that's nice because you don't have to continue to fill it up, or if you get to a house that doesn't have water, you got plenty of water to get a job or 2 done, right? And sometimes in commercial locations you can't get to it. All right, then over here you notice it's got a couple of filters in there, inline filters. They're actually built in, come with the machine. That's pretty nifty. You got the filter bags. So then you come over here to the reels. This has 400 feet. It will hold 500 feet. Now I know some of you guys are thinking, hey, look, Rob, I noticed you got a cheater hose, a leader hose, a whip hose on there. Why? Well, because I'll run this upstairs and I'll run this on stairs because I know there's just not as much soil in those areas up there. Now, if it really is bad, I don't mind go ahead and popping it off and doing it. But generally when I get downstairs, I'll just go ahead and pop off the whip hose and I'll run a straight 2 inches. Okay. Remember, this will hold 500 feet, but I just carry 400 feet. That's more than enough. And even if I'm running dual wands, 200 foot to each wand is more than enough for me. Okay, then when you come over here to the solution reels, I run 300 foot on each. And the 300 foot on each of them are live reels. So you don't have to pull them all out, disconnect them. There's not different sections to have to hook up with quick disconnects. Instead, all you do is pull out what you need and you keep right on cleaning. So I love that. You just pull this out. You pull your hoses out. I do not run a live vacuum hose. I do not recommend it. I know some manufacturers actually set their trucks up that way, but the problem is when you've got them all coiled like that, it creates a lot of friction. The water sits down at the bottom and it reduces your vacuum. So don't fall for that. All right. And then over here I've got a live water hose. So that way I can just go ahead, pull this out, hook it up to the house. So just kind of follow me through with the program. Okay. So I've got the truck running. I come over, I start the machine up. I pull my solution line in, which is automatically live. Or ahead of time, if I do need water, but most times I don't, I'll just go ahead and unhook this, run up there and hook it up with water. So I got water coming inside the machine. I've got water coming out of the machine for a lot of you newbies who don't understand how it works. So then all I do is pull that up there, hook it up, do this, go in there, start cleaning, and it's got almost a 250 gallon wastewater tank in there. So I can go all day long, maybe even a couple of days without dumping it, but I recommend dumping it at least once a day if you have this big of a setup. All right, most people I know aren't going to be running this type of setup, but this is fine. All right, over here you notice I got a little fill hose here. So if I want to go ahead and fill up any of my deodorizers, my protectors, or my pre-sprays, I'll just use this. And over here I've got a valve. I just turn this valve, turns the water on and off for me. But here's something you really want to keep in mind when you're using what's called a convenience hose. They're all available in the industry. The problem is a lot of guys don't realize the convenience hose is set up right by the machine. And the water's coming right out of the heat exchanger. So a lot of guys end up getting burned this way. So keep that in mind when you're using this. Make sure you have a good valve on it. Make sure you put it down inside your tank. You cut it on, you cut it off properly. If it gets loose on you, just down inside your shoe, hits your skin, I'll tell you what, it'll burn your skin off in no time. Now, before I move on to the wrench system and safety, let me go over a couple little cool things that's nice about this machine. It has a separate pressure regulator over here for your second line. So if you want to clean carpets or you want to clean tile at the same time, you can adjust your pressure up higher here and adjust your pressure down lower here for your carpets. So you can adjust your carpets here, adjust your tile here. You could also do the same thing if you're working with furniture and with carpets and you want to adjust your pressure. So that's a nifty little tip. Also, if you want to fill your chemical system, instead of having to grab a garden hose or get up there and pull your tank down, by the way, I carry 2 tanks and I'll show you that in a little bit. All you got to do is turn this little knob here and it'll fill it up automatically for you. Just kind of view it, watch it as it fills. That's pretty nifty. Okay, here's a couple other features that I kind of incorporated. Number one, if you look over, I got these 2 little tools right in here, and everything in this truck here, if you look closely, it's kind of hard to see on camera, but it's very clear to the naked eye. Everything is marked throughout the truck, whether it's a slammer tool, air, water, quick disconnect, and what are these? This little slammer tool here, pull it out of here, and suppose you're inside of a house and you accidentally turn your ball valve. We all know what happens. You got all that water pressure and you can't break the pressure. So just pop this inside there, hit it down inside the ground. They say slam it. I just said hit it softly on the ground and it'll break that pressure gap for you and you can go ahead and hook it back up. This other little tool, which I fabricated here, is basically just a male quick disconnect and a ball valve and an opening on this side. So you can use this if you want to. You can pop it in and use it for filling. You can use it for cleaning. Some guys will actually even take and put a female quick disconnect on this end here and go ahead and have all different types of fittings on here so they can actually spray things off and clean it. If you want to do that, that's cool. But what I like about it is maybe just for filling. But the main reason I have it is because we all know if you run out of water inside of your truck mounts, you can get an airlock in there and it's difficult to get that airlock out. So generally what you can do is go ahead and put this inside of there, put this inside of your vacuum port, put a little towel around it, turn the machine on, turn your water pump on, and that'll clear that air or water lock, whatever you want to call it, that's inside your fresh water pump, and that way you get right back to cleaning. So because we've all been cleaning sometimes, and unless you have an autofill system and you don't have it hooked up, you might end up running out of water. If you run out of water, it's really handy to have little tools like that. I also like to keep filters up in here. You can notice this is a button back in here. You see, it says it has the filters in here. I put separate filters in there, and I'll talk about that when I go over safety and why I call it safety. And then I've got the electric hose rail button. And so over here, there's a hose rail quick release. So you notice by that, I can lock it in place. That way I don't have to worry about it moving when I'm driving. So that's a good feature. But you just press the button and roll it right in, right? I like to leave a little bit of slack, lock it in. I'll show you why. Because I can lock it in, tuck it under like this, and that'll keep it from flipping around while I'm driving, maybe hitting something that's hot and burning a piece of hose in half. Now I do love my electric vacuum reels. Now this manufacturer doesn't make electric solution reels or freshwater reels. However, I may be making one, so watch for that in the future. Now let's go ahead and go on to the wrenches. Okay, before I show you a couple unique things I did to the wrench system, let me show you the wrenches that I have up here and why I carry so many. Now I know most people are going to carry 1 or 2 wrenches, and that's fine. So you need to find out what works for you, best in your area, you know, what type of soil loads and what type of soil issues and what type of carpet you're coming across, or upholstery and things of that nature. But I really like having 2 different tanks up there, and I'll break that down in a minute. And the reason being is because I want alkaline and I want acid, and I'll tell you why as we go on. So you're going to notice I've got an acid wrench here, I've got an alkaline, I've got an acid powder, I've got an alkaline powder, and this is basically around 8 pH. So that's really nice. This is probably somewhere around 2 or 3 of the acidic powder. And then I've got a black label alkaline. Then I've got a liquid. I have a liquid ultimate fiber rinse, which is an acidic rinse, but it also cleans. That makes it extremely unique because most rinses, as soon as they hit the carpet, it kills all your cleaning power. Okay, but when it comes to ours, it took us almost a year or 2 to make this right here. Has a really nice fresh orange scent, and people really like the citrus scent of it. But it actually cleans and it drops the pH, softens carpets, keep them cleaner longer, and it's great for rugs, for carpets, upholstery, you name it, all types of fine fabrics. And then you've got Formula 99, which my brother used to say Formula 99 would kick any carpets behind. And he realized how strong this was and how good of a job that it does. So I went to a plastic fabrication shop and I had to make me a custom Lexan shelf. adds a nice modern look to it. And I marked the names up under there, so that way if I send a technician out here to get something, he can see the name of it, or if it's out of something or something's missing, he can come back and refill it. I like to have everything in its place. I think that makes a difference, just like I did in the front. I use a labeler for everything. Okay, now let me go ahead and show you the tanks up here. Kind of step up here just a bit. And I've got two tanks up here. I got one for acid and I've got one for alkaline. And all I've got to basically do is grab this hose here and switch the hose over from one to the other. So if you're running a truck mount system, all you have to do is keep, a lot of guys have a 5-gallon tank. Probably 90–95% of the truck mounts come with a 5-gallon tank. I recommend pulling that 5-gallon tank out, putting two 2.5-gallon tanks in there. Go ahead and run acid on one side, alkaline on the other side. And you know, here's the real reason you want two tanks. You want an alkaline and you want an acid. A lot of guys complain, well, my pre-spray didn't work, or the carpets didn't come clean. What happened? A lot of guys are still running their acid rinse. They leave it on through their chemical feed system, and what happens? You're running that through there while you're doing your pre-spray, and you're knocking down the pH and the cleaning strength of your pre-spray. Instead, what you could have done is just flipped it over into the alkaline, and the alkaline will give you a 1-2 punch on those really nasty carpets. So really, it really helps. You want us to switch out a 5-gallon tank every time and do that? That's up to you. Me, I just rather pull that 5-gallon tank out of there. We sell the 2.5-gallon tanks, drop it right in there, keep them full, flip your hose, and you're gonna get better performance out of all your cleaning agents, and you're gonna have a whole lot more happier customers. And really, that's what it's all about, right? The 3 R's: repeats, reviews, and referrals. And so you want to do the best job you possibly can, and by having those two tanks, to me, it makes a huge difference. Okay, that's the rinse and rinse system. Now let's go ahead and let's talk safety. Now starting up here, I've got 2 air movers, and it's marked accordingly. And you're probably thinking, well, how do air movers, you know, equate to safety? Because really, one of the biggest liabilities that carpet cleaners have, or even tile cleaners have, is slip and fall liability, right? So if you can get those carpets, you can get those floors dry as fast as possible, that reduces that liability. It also makes the carpet stay cleaner longer, and it keeps people from tracking dirt and, you know, attracting soil onto the carpet or onto the tile and getting your great artwork dirtied up earlier than it should be. And let me tell you what, she's gonna hold you responsible for it, right? Then over here I've got my blocks. Now how do blocks fit into safety? Well, it keeps, if you put it up on the furniture, it keeps the furniture from leaving rust or wood stains on the carpet. Let me tell you what, that'll save you a ton of headaches, because wood stains are very difficult, if not impossible, to get out, and you end up having to repair the carpet. So I also like to have some coasters on hand. I've got flat ones, and then I've also got the sticky type. Stick it to the bottom of the unit, slide it back and forth, you don't have to worry about streaking, and it protects it from getting any stains on the carpet. And we have these at the tmfshop.net store too, so keep that in mind. And then over here, I've got 2 safety outlets. And these outlets right here basically run the heaters. There's 2 heaters inside this truck. And what's nice about having the heaters is if it gets cold outside, you want to keep everything from freezing, because we all know heat exchangers and water inside the system expands and it can do damage. And believe me, that's very costly, and not to mention the downtime. And downtime's a killer. Remember, we're always in a race against downtime. So you want to make sure that you keep your equipment up and watch the temperature. And speaking of temperature, over here I've got an outside temperature probe that I keep here. And I keep one inside the house, and it alerts me, it lets me know if it gets too cold outside, under 40 degrees, I want to go out there and take care of it. But I keep my truck inside, and everybody has that luxury. Another thing I did is I went ahead and put 2 extension cords here, and I can run these little extension cords off of this down to here, and it has 2 lights on it because it's a lighted extension cord. And then I can just shut the door, and I can lock it if it's outside for some reason, and then I can go ahead and hook up my cords, and not have to worry about any drafts or anybody getting inside the truck. Hey, another thing when it comes to safety, what if you're in an area that has some suspicious foot traffic, right? What can you do? Well, when you're using a machine that is a PTO or a direct drive, generally it'll have an opening either in the side of the van or the bottom of the truck. And I showed you how the extension cords go through there, but you can also run your solution line through it. Check this out. So you run all your vacuum lines, right? You run all your vacuum lines outside of the truck, then you can shut the truck, lock it up, and you ain't got to worry about the hood. And I've got some flares up in here. Now these aren't just any flares, these are actually electric flares, and there's 9 different adjustments to them, so that's pretty nifty. It's even got a little flashlight in there if you want to use it. An LED flashlight is the last one check that out, pretty nifty. But more important than that, I think, is the fact you can hook it all around your vehicle. These are nifty even to have in your personal vehicle too. Great gift for the wife. And I've got my corner guards. That is a safety because you don't want to tear up corners when you're pulling in your hoses, whether they're solution hoses or vacuum hoses. And then I've got my safety cones here, which are expandable. That's nifty. If I have to park out in the street like I am right here, I'll go ahead and just set these up and I don't have to worry about that. Okay, speaking of slip and fall, I also carry floor runners up here. You've probably seen them in all my YouTube videos. They come in red, they come in blue. I keep a red one up here. I keep a blue one back here in the back. Generally, I'll just use one for the house. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to protect two different things. Trying to protect the customer surfaces like hardwood floors and things of that nature from overspray getting onto them. But more importantly, I'm trying to protect myself from liability, from them walking off a wet surface over to a hard surface and slipping and falling. I'm gonna tell you what, every year I see on the boards where somebody has had a slip and fall, and that can lead to a huge liability, and I've even seen it put some carpet cleaners out of business. I also took the time and upgraded the interior lights to full LED. Why did I do that? Let's think about it. You have a lot of high heat components in there and you have a lot of moving parts when it comes to truck mounts. So it's really important to have it well lit inside, and also it makes it so you can get up in there and find things faster on the fly. Hey, one thing that's often overlooked is ear protection. I cannot overemphasize how important this is. As I travel the country and I go to the trade shows, a lot of cleaners complain that they've lost part of their hearing. Why? Because when you're operating around this type of machinery here and it's very loud, it's a lot of decibels, and it can do ear damage. Just pick up something inexpensive, pop it in your ears. It only takes a couple of seconds and it makes a huge difference. Okay, so that basically breaks down the whole, the machine, the wrenches, and the safety. And if you see anything I left out or anything you'd like to have included, or if you have any questions or you want to see the links, go down inside the description, go down inside the comments. Feel free to critique anything that I'm doing. I'm always open to suggestions and improvements. As a matter of fact, the biggest room in my house is a room for improvement. So if you got something for me to improve on, I would love to hear it. Please go down and make the comments. Well, now you basically saw the business in the front. Watch for the next video, because then you're going to see the party in the back.